Okay guys, watch me spit some bars.
Alright. I say,
You might have heard people saying, "Oh my god, MAPPA. Oh my god, Madhouse. Ufotable went in with this one. Pink pineapple, those fucking tits." But does the studio actually matter for an anime? Yes. No. Yes. No. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. It's complicated, so I'm gonna explain it to you guys. With the knowledge I have, of course. Yeah, I clickbaited you guys. It does matter. What are you gonna do about it? Absolutely nothing. In an era where anime is more popular than ever, and people are more vocal about who produce an anime that they watch, studios like MAPPA and Ufotable, or like directors, animators, and vice versa. Of course, a lot of them don't know what they're talking about. So, studios. Most studios are represented by animation producers. These are people or companies that are in charge of managing schedules, resources, and bringing in talent. For example, Yuichi Fukushima as one of the leading producers in Cloverworks, and Keisuke Shishimo as the Jujutsu Kaisen and Chainsaw Man producer in MAPPA. Yes, there are multiple different staff lineups for every studio, but we'll get to that later. Now, there are usually two types of studios. Studios that mostly use outside help or freelancers, and studios that usually do everything in-house. In today's industry, most studio uses outside/freelancers help. That's why some could be amazing looking and some couldn't be average looking. Studios like A1 Pictures, although I don't remember an A1 show looking particularly bad. JC Staff, Production IG, and a bunch more, because that's the best way to make your show look spectacular. A good example is One Punch Man. And nowadays, some random animators can just pop up out of nowhere, making some big highlights for shows like One Piece. Take like Daniel Kim, Vincent Chanzard, Yen Yen, and a lot of others. But some studios still have some in-house stuff, like MAPPA and JC Staff's own CG team, Dogokobo's own compositing team, etc. If you want your show to look good, you need two things: time and talent. Take MAPPA. MAPPA has two main pipelines, the Jujutsu Kaisen / Chainsaw Man one and the Attack on Titan one. But what happened when both teams are busy with their own projects and also having a doo-doo-ass schedule? You get something like Hell's Paradise. One good example is One Punch Man. One Punch Man is still arguably the best animated show. The show can have this many talented action animators thanks to the director Shingo Natsume's connection and Fukushi ways of managing. That's why Freelance episode 6 could have this many talented animators thanks to Fukushi's connection and the episode director Tori Iwasawa too. Fukushi's time management is great, making shows every 2 years so that the animators can take their time, prioritizing quality over quantity. Of course, studios can have that thing that they're notable at, like Dogokobo usually producing cute/moe blob shows, White Fox with their fantasy shows with a dark twist to it, and so on. Connections are more important than the studio. If a director/producer or an episode director has a lot of connections with the industry, then it's bound to be good looking. Shows like Tokyo Revengers and Call of the Night, both animated by Leiden Films, looks exponentially different, one being this janky below average with some good fighting sequences thanks to one animator being Tomohide Kikunaga, and one being this pleasing looking show with some interesting color palettes because of the directors. No offense to the Tokyo Revengers director, but Tomoyuki Itamura, the director of Call of the Night, just has a better understanding of visual cohesion and directing because of him working in a lot of Shaft shows and being really experienced too in a directorial role. A studio that is widely complimented with their interesting and great directing thanks to the influence of Akiyuki Shinbo. There's also some instances of random studios making incredible looking shows. For example, take Flip Flappers, Studio 3 Hertz, 3HZ, I don't know, from a studio that really didn't have much of a track record at the time, and they can produce this amazing looking show. That's because the director Kiyotaka Oshiyama's connections and bringing in Takashi Kojima as the character designer, because Kojima worked on an episode where Oshiyama was the episode director and storyboarder. Also, Kojima has a lot of connections too. Before I actually go to this, there is some studios that is kind of in-house but not really. Studios like Trigger that is home to some of the best Canada style animators, and also people that usually always work with them, that is Tsushio, Kai Ikarashi, Koishinari, Toshiyuki Sato. Same with Shaft having a plethora of freelancers and in-house animators like Hiroto Nagata, Genichiro Abe, Kazuki Kawata, and a lot more. Also, animators that usually work with a certain studio doesn't mean they're contracted. People like Nozomu Abe, who has good connections with Ufotable and Shaft, but Abe always prioritizes his Ufotable work, but he is a freelancer at the end of the day. People that are contracted, that is Kenichiro Aoki for JC Staff, Yutaka Nakamura for Bones, Hiroto Nagata for Shaft. That's why when Nakamura works on other projects that's not by Studio Bones, he usually goes under a pen name because technically he's not allowed. And now, basically the Studio Kings. Before we discuss this, let's pray. please God, give me some Hoth Goth puss. There's mainly two studios that do this type of business endeavors. While Ufotable still sometimes uses freelancers like Hironori Tanaka, Kazuhiro Miwa, Nozomu Abe, and a lot of others. For example, some studio field animators were involved in the first episode of the Demon Slayer's Swordsmith Village arc, and some other component like the second key animation and in-betweening, but most studio has a lot of other studios working on that. And then there's Kyoto Animation, one of the leading and best examples of a healthy studio, having their own school/program so that they can train young talent and actually hire them to the studio, giving them salary. I'm not saying no studio has ever done this. PA Works and Toei Animation has done something similar to this. It's just that studio just need to prioritize more to the staff. In an industry where most animators' drive is passion rather than money, and sometimes they can absolutely get destroyed by shitty schedules, it's just sad to see. A good example of terrible schedules is MAPPA's Seshimo line and Cloverworks' Umehara line. Now, some factors that make some of Ufotable's and KyoAni's shows masterpieces. Of course, having a healthy environment helps, but both have some of the best compositing and CG team. They're always consistent because most of the time it is their top of the top team. While yes, Ufotable had some troubles here and there, how God Eater's production crashed, the money laundering thing, and Demon Slayer season 3 didn't look as good like the previous seasons because some of their best animators are busy with the Genshin Impact anime and the Tight Moon movie thing, and the source material didn't really help. Ufotable's 2D/animators isn't that strong, that's why they rely more on CGI to make complex shots, but their main animators will always be there making the highlights for their shows. While on the other hand, KyoAni, they're always doing the bits of details, crowd animation, unnecessary amazing fabric, hair, character acting, and their CGI. They usually only use the CGI for backgrounds, not for characters or creatures, because usually they do 2D creatures. And on top of that, their compositing team is one of the best. Take Violet Evergarden, arguably the best composited anime out there. And even amongst all these members, there are still people that stood out, like Naoki Yamada producing some of the most beautifully directed shows/movies, Tachiya Sato being a talented animator, and a lot of others. Same with Ufotable, Toshiyuki Shirai producing some of the best Demon Slayer episodes, Masaki Kunihiro, and a lot more. Some people probably don't even know how much KyoAni actually uses CG backgrounds because it blends really well. These studios can still work on passion projects because it can still generate revenue. KyoAni started off making passion projects, and till to this day they can still do that because their shows are well crafted and interesting. Ufotable too, their successful shows is their passion projects, with the unfortunate event being the KyoAni arson attack, which was devastating to look at. They still bounced back with the help of the anime community, and today they have more staff than they had ever before, and with the school thing that they have. In an industry where most animators bounce between productions all over the place, KyoAni believes that training these young talents can be the next generation, aspiring directors, animators, and background artists. They always thrives in these business ventures. Ufotable too, they will always have Masayuki Kunihiro acting as their main animator and Nozomu Abe making the climax scenes with the amazing compositing and CG background. One last thing I want to talk about is production lines. Many studios have more than one staff lineup. MAPPA has 3, Cloverworks has 2, Sunrise has a fuck ton, and so on. These lines are responsible for different shows, but for the same studio. They have their own producers, directors, and animators. There is sometimes some intermixing. Studios like Bones can have one for shows that doesn't have the best schedule and usually generate the most revenue, and one can be their passion project. Same with, say, Sunrise. Some lineups works on their Gundam series and some works on their Idol series. That's why some studios can generate a lot of shows in just a year, and that's why sometimes it's not the studio's efforts that make a show good looking. It's most of the time the hard-working staff that goes beyond overtime to make your show as best looking as possible. Some Jujutsu Kaisen staff were vocal about the whole thank you MAPPA thing rather than actually thanking people that actually matters. I'm not saying stop doing thank you studio this, studio that. It's just a reminder that there are people that is passionate and overworked as shit to make your shows a masterpiece. And that's probably it. Of course, there's a lot of other aspects, but this is just the things I want to talk about in this video. Maybe I'll do a sequel, I don't know. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a like, comment down below if I was incorrect of some things, or if you want to add some more stuff, go ahead. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. See you on the other side.